Now, in this chapter, running water, heat from the sun, here, as we did it last time about the generation of alternate generation of electricity or alternate generation of heat or apart from using coal. So here the water current is used for generation of hydropower electricity. Now, how water current is created? The process of current generation or this cycle is known as the water cycle. Let us study then. The snow melts into water. How it melts? Snow, we find it in the high mountains, and especially the peaks are covered with snow. As during the day the sun rises, the suns, we feel the heat of the sun. In our case, we sweat. If you keep a bottle of water outside in the sun, it gets heated up. You try to dry your clothes, wet clothes, they are dried. So similarly, so if you keep a small piece of ice outside in the sun, it melts, right? Similarly, the same formula is applied when the sun rises and its heat falls on the snow-capped mountains. The ice of that melts, or the snow melts, and it turns into water. And this is one process. Now your question might arise that why snow is formed, or why is snow formed at the highest point or in the mountains or in the mountain ranges. Now what happens, like water from the ponds, rivers, seas, they all evaporate. Why? Because of the sun's rays. Like if you heat water on your gas oven, what happens after some times? There's smoke, evaporation takes place, and if we keep it, the level of the water reduces. So where is the water gone? It evaporates. And similarly, same procedure when the sun rises, the water bodies of like pond in the water in the pond, rivers, seas, they evaporate due to the sun's heat, and the vapor thus forms, that vapor thus formed goes to the higher regions of the atmosphere and cools down. You know, the as we go higher up, the atmosphere is cooler compared to the lower level of atmosphere, and especially as the mountains are always located at a higher altitude. So, and similarly, that as the water vapor accumulates in the higher altitude, that water vapor turns into snow. And snow wouldn't have formed on the mountains if there was no sun's heat. So again, if the snow would again not melt if there was no sun. So everything is dependent upon the sun. Now, the rivers come from the mountains, and these rivers are generated perennial rivers. They all are due to the sun's heat. The snow in the higher mountains melts and it forms into river. The rivers will always flow, and the rate of their flow is the current. Next is actually the energy what we receive is from the sun. Though this energy we receive is indirectly and is through the medium of water. This energy which is received through the medium of the water, the sun's energy, this is called water cycle. And it can be understood from the diagram or the picture that is there in the book on your right hand side. Now first, the small water bodies, rivers and sea, then it generates into water vapor. This water vapor then goes up on the atmosphere. Snow and clouds on the peaks are formed. Clouds are formed and snow on the mountain peaks are formed, and again due to the sun's rays they melt and form into river from the mountain, and the clouds come down as rain. So this is known as the water cycle. We also use the sun's energy directly. That is, every day we use it. I told you, or I mentioned before, that we dry clothes after washing them, dry paddies, whatever you want to dry, you keep it under the sun and it gets dried up. So this is direct use of the sunlight. Even sometimes heating bathing water, sunbathing, and we also use sunlight to see during the day. And sunlight can also be produced too for electricity. And sunlight directly produces electricity. Like there are certain solar calculators. If you keep under the sun, it gains energy and you can use it. There are many other toys also which runs on solar power. And we will do uh, nowadays various places you have solar lights. Okay, there are solar hospitals like the, and there are panels, solar panels that are installed in the houses, but the whole house runs on the solar power, so we save on the electricity. We turn solar, or turn sun's rays into electricity, that is known as solar electricity, the details of which we'll study in just the second half of the chapter. Now, what is conventional source of energy, what is unconventional source of energy? Now, here you will see that it is said that there is a solar light in front of a hostel. There are a lot of solar lights used, and a solar panel the size of the table is there and is covered with a glass and a bit kept it a bit higher. So for gaining solar energy or turning that solar energy into electricity, you need a solar panel. And that is the battery, because that panel has the battery that gets a whole day, it gets charged from the sun, and the moment the daylight disappears, the solar light automatically starts glowing. This is known as the solar electricity, and electricity directly produced from the sun's energy. Though it is not common, so it is known as the unconventional source of energy. The energy is which are not common in nature, which you do not use on a wide range, those sources of energies are known as unconventional source of energy. Next we move on to the conventional sources of energy, like the energy that is obtained from petroleum and coal. They are known as conventional sources of energy. Now, hydroelectric energy is also common and it is widely used. That is hydropower, hydroelectricity, and it never gets depleted like the other two. Just like hydro energy, we have wind energy that can be used to generate electricity by rotating the blades or turbine in a factory. Solar energy can also be used for what else? For cooking. And for that, you need a device called the solar cooker. Biogas can also be obtained from the decayed and the semi decayed parts of the plants and animals and other waste. It can also be used for cooking. The initial, now you will ask that why the waste of plants and animals, they are obtained very easily, but why don't we use it? But it is not common, right? We hardly, every household doesn't have that. Why? Because the initial cost of these type of fuels, unconventional sources, they are very high. The cost, it is not cost effective, it has a very high installation charges. So efforts are being made from all ends to reduce this cost. Again, this will require more time. So efforts are being made to simplify their usage as minimum as possible, so that every household use this kind of alternative sources of power. Water is the means of transport then and now, means previously how the means of transport were and now and how it is. It is said that previously, nowadays, what do you see? We see a lot of crowd in the buses. There are motor vans, there are motor cars, there are bikes, cycles, lots. But previously, what was the actual means of transport? There were horses, but riding horse was also not a easy stuff, and also maintaining horses was a costly affair. So there were bullock carts. Um, Previously, all these slow moving vehicles were in vogue. There were boats to ply in the river, from going from one bank to the another bank. We used to use boats. Now, even and another means was to walk. People used to walk miles after miles previously. So, hence, people did not travel very far either, because it was a time consuming thing and a costly affair also. Then, after some time, there came a palki or palanquin. Four people used to bear one palki carrying two or more persons inside. So, there were horse carriages in Kolkata at that time, but that was also too costly, as it was mentioned. Common people, what they preferred? They preferred walking, and older people traveled long distances by using bullock carts along with the children and also their luggages. Other animals were also used for the other animals were also used for carrying goods. Sometimes human climbed on the back of the animals at every opportunity. It was common to ride an elephant or a camel, but again maintaining elephant was very costly. Camels were also not less expensive. Maintaining them, giving them food was also a costly thing, quite expensive. So the donkeys, they were used instead to carry heavy goods, and even people could use them to ride on their back. Now, previously there used to be men pulling rickshaws. Now what do you see? Now there are rickshaws. Now you have cycle rickshaws. Okay, but previously the humans used to pull the rickshaws, and the rickshaws, first rickshaw that came into Kolkata was in the year 1990. Initially, it was used for what? Carrying luggages. But again, subsequently means again or followed from, since you can say from 1914 onwards, rickshaws also started carrying people around. So these were the means of transport at the previous times. But nowadays, you find your own house have a bike, somebody has a four-wheeler. So now even we go public transport, we have trains, we have buses, we have totos, we have autos. So lot many options are available. And going to far off distance, we can go for mail trains, we can use aeroplanes. All right, so now distance is just no matter for us. But previously, as people use less or slow medium of transport, so traveling far was not possible for them. Instead of that, like while going to waterways, people used to use boat or ships.